In today's India, we have a lot of conversations about a lot of interesting streams and how these streams are going to bring a brighter and a easier future for this country. But have you ever thought what role design plays in this development? A lot of us have a vague idea about this stream and know about its bits and pieces. But today I want to introduce you to a person who might just give you the holistic picture. Mastering in the field of design with multiple design Oscars, aka Red Dot Awards, in multiple streams, both industrial design and communication design, and playing the lead designer role in multiple world-renowned companies such as Muji, Hotstar, Diesel, Armani, Steve Madden, and many more. He has also been the founding faculty for a lot of elite design institutes in this country. A teacher, a designer, a philosopher, a musician, and a writer. He is bringing Indian design to a world stage. And by the end of the podcast, I'm sure you will also learn a lot of things about this exciting field of design. So without any delay, let's begin. So welcome to the podcast where we are with Pramit Basu, a designer, a musician, and he has been in this field for a long time and multiple Red Dot Award winners. So without much introduction, I think let's hear it from the person himself.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to your show. Good to be here.
So Pramit, tell me something. Since you have been in this field of design, and predominantly we are going to talk about design and then also venture into what behind the scenes of Pramit Basu is. According to you, what is design? Like, since you have been in this field for almost 10 years now.
It's very difficult to define actually. I mean, even today everybody's trying to search the meaning of it. But in keeping with what we have available, the knowledge, the data, design is primarily, a functional process which leads to greater solutions of complex problems. That's how it's defined. But in my case, it's very different because most people who are studying design or study design, say at the PG level, master's level, they either come from technical fields or applied arts background and things like that. I came from pure, literature background. I studied literature for 5 years, bachelor's and master's. After that, I wanted to become a sound engineer because I come from a family of musicians and I've grown up only listening to music. My parents wanted me to become a radio artist. They wanted me to apply for a, government job. You think that is every parent's dream. But what happened was, I was all about to do that. I got through SRFTI, FTII. Letters came to my house and then somebody suggested me that I shouldn't go for it. I was almost about to pay the fees of one of these institutes. So I somehow, for some strange reason, took a leap of faith. And this is where I am right now. If you ask me, for me, design is meaning making. Because for 5 long years of my life, I studied how meaning keeps on working inside society. For characters, for people, in certain scenarios, for good, for bad, for sorrow, for happiness, all these things, right? Multiple human situations. So ultimately, this is what kind of connected back to my greater course of action as I started becoming a designer. So yeah, I think design, I would say, is meaning making, and we define what kind of meaning we want to make. If whatever meaning we create through a product or a service or 2D or 3D, these days VR, the latest tech, right? If it's accepted by the society, then the meaning stays. Then other people start working on it. They start making meaning on the basis of that basic meaning which has been created. And this goes on for centuries, right? So yeah, I mean, it's all up to if you can create relevant meaning in the society and the meaning stays, it's accepted. I think that's how I would put what design is. I don't think there's a single definition, but that's how I see it. I like to see that.
Very well put. We didn't expect such a heavy start, but I think it's going to get deeper from here.
Well, design can get very heavy, but all heavy stuff we learn and understand through very simple things. So that's also there. Like we talk about glass, we talk about a light. So light bulb we see every day. You are drinking water from glass every day. And there's a can of a, added drink. You're drinking from it every day. But then the stupidest things become interesting to you if you're a designer. And designers always want to ask stupid question. Why is a glass like this? If I ask this to another, common man, they might take offense. Why are you asking me such questions? The glass is a glass. But designers always think about stupid things a lot to go to the, heavy stuff, a deeper aspect of it.
So, I mean, I had a definition of my own. I wouldn't call it definition again. It's personal interpretation. And to me, when you say design is creating meaning and function, I feel it's sort of saying ki design is meant to make things simpler.
Yeah.
That's my definition of.
In most
You
cases,
can correct
yeah.
me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at even the trajectory of design, that is what design has tried to do. Because there was a time when design was not for mass consumption. And whatever was for mass consumption was not design. This term came into practice around close to 100 years back when formally design started being taught at a particular design institute in a particular country. So things started getting codified, right? Before that, though, design was not always the way we see design now. If there is no mass production of design, it was not structured. Neither was it mass produced. The intent was there that some king in China creates a different kind of plume for the arrow so that in the battlefield from a distance, he can understand how many of the soldiers from the enemy are dead. So this is design thinking. And most of the good design initially were made for warfare. Because in ancient times, people would engage heavily in warfare. Craft was prevalent. Certain rites and ways of living the society was prevalent. So for them, certain tools were very important. And apart from that, warfare. We had way more warfare than what we are having right now. We are actually living in the nicest time of the world, right?
Or the most peaceful time of the world.
I mean, peaceful on the surface level.
So, you just talked about a term called design thinking. And I guess a lot of our viewers and people who are your students or your colleagues or people might be watching. And can you define design thinking?
I don't think I can define design thinking, but
because the question I'm asking is because in that sense, a lot of young viewers might be watching this and they are very intrigued or they get curious when they hear the term design thinking.
I think design is a discourse. It's a discourse which inherently rejects definition. So by that logic also, what is design thinking, what we understand as design thinking keeps on changing. But holistically, if I have to explain what it is a process of thinking where you go back and forth. If you're doing science, then there are steps you're supposed to follow because other people have worked. So you are supposed to build your knowledge on the basis of that. There's an equation. Unless there's another angle to that which has been, discovered, you have to work along that path. That is how you do it. But in design, you work back and forth. So you walk forward, you do something, then your intention gets a new terrain to act upon. It changes. You wanted to do, say, a simple task, but then after doing some research, you realize that not only you can do that, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other things you can do. Then you go back. So what you had started with, that changes. Everything changes. A unidirectional path sometimes becomes multidirectional. Most of the times, multidirectional paths become unidirectional. Remember, we were talking about simplification. So the art of simplification of design is also the art of mass production of design to some extent. Because if you have to mass produce things, to a certain extent, you will have to simplify them. You can't do things only for the sake of, artistic creativity. You have to be a little practical. You have to go into engineering science. Certain things are easy to mass produce because of the way engineering has been working. Certain things are not. Same goes for, say, softwares also. Certain things are easy to code. Certain things are not. That's why it's very collaborative. What you say, design thinking today, will completely change if you're working in a company where they have certain parameters in place. You will have to restructure your design thinking in keeping with the limitations, in keeping with what you want to do, in keeping with what can be done within a certain... So it's multivariate. It's never a single thing. But in essence, it is something, a process that moves back and forth consistently. It's not unidirectional.
It's a flexible.
Very flexible. Very flexible. Sometimes it's so flexible, people start questioning what is happening. But that's what we do. That's how things work.
So, coming back to the present and dumbing things down a bit for our audience, uh, you recently got a Red Dot Award. Can you talk about it? How was the experience?
It was a great honor. So this was the second time I have been awarded a Red Dot. The previous year was 2017 when we were working on sustainable design. And this time it's for interaction design, and which we call in common terms UI UX. So we became the first ones to win a Red Dot Concept Design Award in UI UX from India. Feels great.
Congratulations on that.
And this is also a lesson. When you go there on that stage every year, the best in class people are awarded. It's not easy. We were the only ones from India who could make it in the UI UX category. There were other people also, but they were not in the interaction design category. So it feels great. You have something which you feel that can change lives of people, and you send it for realization. And if it is realized, then you feel good. So yeah.
So it does manifest.
It does manifest. It does manifest. Manifestation is important. Rather than award is what? Award is just a certification. But then it's only relevant when you wanted something great or a single most great idea to come across, right? Anything great that has happened to humanity has begun as a single idea in someone's head. If anybody is capable of such an idea, they're also capable of greatness, and it automatically manifests. I think that's what has happened to me. I don't plan
Yeah, I
things so
think
much.
history has taught us that there's always it doesn't need the accumulative thought of a crowd to change it. It always takes one person and one idea.
Yeah, ideas are bulletproof.
So for every designer or aspiring designer or somebody who's getting into the field, do you think Red Dot is the ultimate benchmark, and should they strive for it?
I think they should strive for excellence.
Okay.
Red Dot is something that realizes your excellence. So rather than striving for an award, okay, I have to do something so that I get an award. I mean, creative people, we don't really work in that way, right? We have an idea, and if it's there sitting in our head for, say, 2 months, 3 months, then we start acting on it. We test it. Designers have different ways of testing it. You do research, you create a mock-up, and you see how people interact with it. If this goes positive, if it works, then you take it forward. You expand the idea over and over again. You go into depth of it. So yeah, I think it's very important to have a unique idea and a non-biased one. I mean, once you have something which we do this consistently. You have an idea, and you think that this is great. Rather than following your dream or following your path along the trajectory of that idea, you first try to question it from 360 degrees to see that, is there any flaw in this? Is it really a great idea? If all of them fail, then probably you have a shot. That's how I work. I always work in that way. And then slowly, these things happen normally. You're walking along a path. After that, it just happens. I mean, in my case, all of these things, even my coming to design is an accident. Red Dot is also a bit like that. I never thought that I would win a Red Dot. I just thought that since there's a great idea, maybe this should be realized. This also, by the way, was suggested to me by somebody. This has been a string in my life. Somebody said, this is a great idea. Why don't you, send it for some realization? Then I found out about it and I sent it. And it happened. In the first time, I'm talking about 2017. This time, we were developing this for quite some time. We had been researching on this for almost 1.5 to 2 years, almost 1.8 to 2 years. After that, we felt that, let's put it through the acid test. Red Dot is considered to be like the Oscars of design. So, if you have a shot, then you have done something good. Yeah, so people should definitely look up to awards. Awards are good. They help also. Wherever I go, I'm now working internationally. I do so many projects all across the planet. It helps. It helps. But one should not only work thinking that, what can I do to get an award? I don't think this can ever work out. It doesn't work like that. If it has to happen, it will happen. Keep doing the good work and believe in excellence. And other things just follow. And if it also doesn't happen, doesn't matter. You keep on doing the good work. Someday or the other, very soon, good things will start happening. There is no, replacement of excellence in any society.
So you're saying consistency is the key.
Consistency, adherence to one particular thing, working on it consistently, growing it slowly, it takes time, right? Any skill, be thinking, be, say, physical skill, if you're a musician, or say, if you're a 3D modeler, anything, it takes time. It's a slow growth. And I believe that you should be the master of technology. Technology should not be the master of you. And if we have to go there, then it takes time. A sitar player takes 12 to 15 years to make a proper sounding, alap for a particular raga. Initially they can, but they get ready after, say, 7, 8, 12, 15 years, right? That's more or less the time span. So good things take time. And this is
hard to believe in the generation of reels where people get bored in a minute.
I know. But, it helps in a different way. What reels are doing is, reels give you snapshots of things which you might be interested in. It has happened to me many times. Say, once I was trying to learn playing piano chords. So I take a lot of inspiration from music. I am one of those people in design who's always listening to music because it's the most abstract. I think design is also very abstract. Somehow, these things connect. So I was trying to look for a course where I can learn and understand how I can play piano chords within a 2-octave keyboard. Producers. Now, there's a reel that told me that a person is actually offering this service. So reels are good. Reels are not to be taken at the face value. They are like a snapshot into something greater. And they also work via algorithm. The kind of stuff you like, you search, and your reels and everything also keep on coming
customized.
Customized, right? Rather than only doing that, it's much better you take it, save it up, then do your research and go deeper into it. It's an entry, a pathway.
Yeah, so earlier you talked about that you were from a literature background and then you sort of stumbled into the world of design, which you initially hadn't planned. Yeah. So, but I guess for a lot of our viewers who are coming from different fields, for them also design is quite challenging as well as confusing. And, there is this little bit of uncertainty ki what is this field going to be. So since you are also someone who came from that path, how hard or easy was it to fit in? Fit in terms of learning something new at a certain age?
Oh, it was
Because I guess when did you start
around
design?
2012.
Yeah, so you were around how much years old by that time?
Think 25, 26.
Yeah, so by that time usually people start, for their first jobs and everything, and you venturing from a literature and English field.
I was working also. I left all of it and
Yeah, so how was that trajectory? Like, was it a smooth transition? Was it?
No, not at all. I mean, I didn't like it initially. I remember I used to call my father up.
That's really surprising.
After 3 months of, I think, foundation, I called my father up and said, this is not working out for me. I can't do this. He advised that, okay, you have spent 3 months, spend 3 more months, if your PG foundation gets over, then you decide. I listened, I took his advice, and then I liked it. After 6 months, I felt, okay, this is what I want to do. But yeah, for people who have no clue about what design is or why should I get into design?
And especially there are a lot of people like that. But there are people like that who want to get into design.
Correct.
Yeah.
So your enthusiasm should be your key. For me, somebody told me to do design after seeing my works and everything. I also didn't have any portfolio. There were people with me who had like a full digital portfolio ready.
Yeah.
I had like 3 drawings which I showed in the interview. And I was selected on the basis of that. If you are creative and if you truly believe in it, I think even the slightest example of that is good enough. You don't need to prepare yourself too much to tell people that you're creative. It comes out. I mean, educators are trained enough to be able to understand. I think they're interviewing hundreds and thousands of children every single day. And design is very popular now. And a larger part of the game is that design is popular because design is unpredictable. And Indians also by nature are pretty unpredictable in many parts of life. We have something called jugaad. We constantly innovate. I've seen people who cannot, open a screw at my design college, did not have a screwdriver. They use the backside of a spoon to open the screw. Indians do this consistently.
Next question is, since we have talked about Red Dot and everything, has it influenced you in any way, like your thinking, or has it opened a new world of perspectives when you saw so many great designs coming into one place and a lot of people from around the world, some of the great designers, current existing great designers, and you were one of them. So did it influence your way of thinking? Did you start seeing new perspectives? Has it happened? Or
Yes, it has. It has in certain times confirmed what I thought could be done. Many things which I felt that I could do, or we could have good design in this path, say a product or a service, whatever route may it be, it started coming out true when I went to the Red Dot, visited the Red Dot Museum and saw what kind of stuff they have been doing. So yeah, like uber progressive, and also interacting with, say, the best-in-class designers. They're very open, and they're always ready to openly discuss, and they're very simple people also. They don't think too complex, very simple. Yeah, so it did help a lot. It did help in my professional career also, because I'm also teaching. So when I'm mentoring students, it helps. It helps me to understand so-called what we consider the impossible is actually possible. We just need to give it a different context.
and okay, so why don't you tell us a bit about how your design journey started and how you transition from, since I know a bit about what you have been doing, so how you have transitioned from a glamorous corporate life to a world of teaching, if you can elaborate.
So I started my journey around 2016 when Hotstar invited me to build up their brand and communication department. At that point of time, there were only two of us. And we had to work with an insanely huge team. And OTT was not big in India. Nobody knew about it. So I was working there, and then alongside, we were also working on our personal projects. We were working on research for design, innovation-led design. So that got manifested and realized in end of 2016, early 2017. So I went in 2017 to receive the first award. After that, when I came back, the CEO of Reliance Brands Limited, RBL, invited me to take over the leadership. So I started working with luxury brands, and all this while, the only thing that I felt is that, larger part of this knowledge or this experience should also be catered to other people. When I was a student, I am lucky. I think throughout my career, I've always found great teachers. When I was in literature school,
That's something very appreciative. We don't get it nowadays.
I think there's a huge dearth of seriously good mentors, and by seriously good mentors, I mean people who really get a kick out of teaching.
Okay.
You get a kick out of designing, you get a kick out of, say, dancing or painting. People who, I am one of them. I think I realized late, but I realized that I'm a person who gets a kick out of teaching.
So it's not just about, a profession. It's more than a profession.
No, I don't think you can call teaching a profession. It's a way of life. Corporate life is a profession because you can shift jobs. But teaching, you are also not suggested to change your job or position consistently in teaching. There's a saying, in corporate, you can keep on moving the corporate ladder, this and that very fast. It is not advisable to do that in education. You're supposed to be grounded in one place, build it, make things happen. Then you move for the, next part of your life. So yeah, in my case, I wanted to do this, and I was looking for a right kind of place where I would be able to bring my ideas. So the JK group from Rajasthan had called me. They were in touch with me in, I think, around 2018, 2019. We were in talks. It was just going on and off.
Mm-hmm.
Then finally they invited me over in Rajasthan to take care of their institute and help build a design institute, which I did for some time. We had a very talented batch of students from there. Alongside, I was also working as the Innovation Ambassador Program, consultant for India in design. I was the first one from that zone to have been honored with that epithet. So training happened. So yeah, it's a mixed bag. It's never a straight or simple path. It's always a mixture of different things. Sometimes you get success. Sometimes when you hold on to very deep thoughts and ideas and things, they don't work out. These things happen. In my case, it's also the same. There were things which I wanted to do, they never worked out. I've been consistently still and driving towards it. It doesn't work. And there were things which I had thought of and I wanted to do, it happened. There's a saying that whatever you are seeking is also seeking you. It's a bit like that. You are in that zone, you want to do something, and it works out for you. I wanted to teach, I looked for an opportunity, it came doing, and here I am.
Changing the trajectory a bit, since we have been talking about success and the good part of design and everything, I want to focus a bit on, like, everyone of us has gone through some failures in life, and I think failure is a big part of design. Like, you learn from your failures.
Yeah.
So according to you, what's your biggest failure that has been in this field, and how did you overcome it? Or if you couldn't, how did you learn from it? It's like we either overcome the failure or we learn from it. We take a lesson from it. And what's your interpretation in that?
I think the biggest failure is to be, is when you have a vision or an idea and you can't communicate. I think that's the biggest problem in design, at least in India.
Design communication.
Most people are suffering because they have a great idea. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to speak. They have to speak in a particular language, or they have to speak in a particular way. There are a lot of expectations from designers, which is also largely corporate driven. Designers are not typically, those copybook kind of corporate stand-up speakers. We are very different. We speak creatively. We take our speaking also goes back and forth. So I think the greatest failure would be, and this is ongoing, and I think this is going to go on, is the fact that sometimes great ideas just simply does not work, or does not cut through or pass through another person who you want to share it with.
And you have to take it with a pinch of salt.
You have to take it with a pinch of salt, or maybe you have to dumb it down.
Okay, that's even harsher.
You have to dumb it down. Many times I had ideas which could have completely taken, say, a project to another extreme. But it couldn't be done because people who were supposed to approve it didn't believe in it.
Okay. So believing is a big,
it's a big
part.
thing. It's a big thing. You have to rely. I think it happens everyone. And you have to rely on a creative profession. A creative person will have their ways of doing things. So you have to set them free. If there is too much of control, or there is too much of, say, unidirectional thinking, then also you do stuff, but they end up getting very stratified. So that would be my greatest failure, and I'm still fighting with it. Consistently I have ideas, I have things which I have to express to people, to clients, to students, and sometimes there's a hit and miss. But also, since I mentioned students, I think the only group of people who take any crazy idea and blow it beyond proportions and love craziness are students. Compared to a corporate world, in a university setting, when you're working, you give the craziest idea to the student and trust them and set them free. And mostly I have seen, if you have faith, you set them free, and if they trust you, magic happens. And high chances these people, when they go to the industry, they bring that spirit with them. When they work out, they seek things, they also change things slowly. Nothing in India, no change happens directly or overnight. We are a race, a culture who does not like fast change. We like change, but over time. Right. So yeah, I think in terms of success, in terms of failure, the greatest failure would be not to be able to communicate. Success would be at least to have been able to do that with students.
And how have you adapted? Like, how did you try to make the communication better? Is it by studying people? Is it by studying their people?
Adopting unconventional means of communicating. Like you are expected to go somewhere and make a presentation in this way with the first slide. You don't do that, you start telling a story halfway. So people are hooked, they want to know what is happening. Then through that abstract process, you bring people back into communication. Then they're hooked, then they want to listen to you. It's all about getting people hooked, I mean, a lot of great ideas and great things can be done if you can catch people's attention. Not only through your work, but also through your body language, how you speak, who you are. If you do that, then other things kind of follow suit. You can't expect 100% satisfaction in anything. It's not guaranteed. But as much as you can get it up, good for you and your community.
So let's focus a bit on your lifestyle as a designer, because like we all think or have a perception, preconceived notion about the life of a designer. And as far as I know, is design requires discipline, a lot of discipline. No matter how crazy the idea is, if it's not followed by discipline, it just falls all over the place. So how do you practice that in your daily life?
I think for me, it comes from diverse sources, but the strongest source would be Japan. Because I was working as the India division head for Muji, the iconic design-led brand from Japan. And I got to visit Japan several times for that. Have stayed in Tokyo, worked with them. So discipline for me is to be in a state of, Zen mode of mind. I myself practice Zazen for years, It's been 8 years I've been doing it. It helps you to empty your mind, to clear your mind. In the Indian way of spiritualism, what we do is we concentrate on one thing and we meditate sometimes. It could be a mantra. It could be, say, a thought or an idea. It could be a shloka. Right. In Japanese meditation, if you do Zazen, you only try to empty your mind. You try to be in a state where thoughts and ideas are not there. But this cannot happen completely, right? Your mind is a chatter system. Like a monkey, keeps on chattering consistently. It keeps on throwing things towards you. You understand that, you analyze that, and then you get a greater snapshot of life. So this has been a part of my life for 7 to 8 years now. I've been doing this consistently, and this did make a huge change. So I can arrive at certain simple ideas I saw without much effort, as if it's a divine blessing. It directly comes to you. It's an inspiration, like you're a medium. So yeah, that would be one. Second would be, apart from digital skills, these days too, we have a lot of tech innovation which has happened, especially in the field of design. You have something called an iPad, you have a Procreate, you have plugins, you have these things which make your life much easy. To a certain extent, they can cut down on the requirement of hand skills, as we call it. I am personally a believer of the fact that these two should have their own trajectory. Like I do both. I am still very much interested in hand skills. I am doing my artistic practice. I do work with my hands consistently, while I am fully using technology, whatever is available, state of the art. I am also now, preparing a new kind of course for AI at the place where I teach. We just did an entire segment, and you have to see the kind of amazing work students have done. Majorly on the basis of simple prompts that you can put up, right? Prompt engineering for design. We have been doing this for marketing, management, and engineering for some time. It can be used in design also, right? So yeah, I think discipline for me is adhering to one thing and then consistently searching for new sources of inspiration and putting them alongside on a parallel loop. One thing you practice for years, and then innovation happens. Tech, industry, life. You keep on adding them along to your path and let them grow parallelly. It has helped me a lot.
So India is changing as a nation, and I think design is playing a major part of it, major role of it. And I don't know if it's a hip thing or something that people are now getting aware of what design can do, because we are so stuck with mainstream engineering and doctrine. And not that we have any sort of bad intent.
They're great. I think each to his own.
Yeah.
All paths should exist together. No? They grow side by side. But yeah, design has blasted. That's there.
Yeah. So in terms of design, how do you think the scenario of the design community, or in general, like how is the acceptance of design in everyday fields, or rather in companies, have changed over the years?
I think there are two ways in which I would be able to answer this question. One is what the designers are doing and have been able to do over time, and what the companies have been expecting and what is happening over time. So, to a larger extent, design has been understood as pretty picture making by companies across. If you do something pretty, it's looking beautiful, aesthetically pleasing, then it's design.
That's how they used to define.
Majorly, that is what is put also, right? This is design because it looks good. So change the feel of it, change the graphics of it. Graphics, by the way, does not mean good-looking pictures. So from a designer's point of view, the challenge is to not be in this zone. Many designers fall into the loop of just making pretty things, and sometimes they get derailed. For a designer, the challenge is to adhere to very functional and formalist requirements, and this can happen sometimes at the cost of your creativity. You think that you want to say, again, those ideas, that communication. Sometimes communication does not work because you are too obsessive. You will have to dumb yourself down because that's need of the hour. So if you're a rounded designer, you will understand that I can't do this here. Just because it's a great design, okay, take it. You have to. It doesn't work. It has to work in a particular context. So that's the designer's challenge. They sometimes have to sacrifice in order to understand, the reality and adhere to it.
How is the acceptance or, incorporation of design changed? Because we have a bunch of startups coming up. We have many new companies popping up.
I think in that phase, we still have a loophole. I think the larger problem is put on the shoulders of the designer even now. A designer has to agree. A designer has to change. A designer has to do. And they are doing. They have been doing. That's been the history of this country. We should change it. I mean, startup culture is a culture when you bring in a great idea. A great idea not necessarily should be an idea for which an existing market is there. You can also create your own market. If we look at Shark Tanks in different parts of the world, we see that entrepreneurs have created a completely new category, which became popular and things started happening. I mean, look at Apple. At some point of time, they redefined an existing category, and for the last 15, 18 years, everybody has been following suit. So this is something which is a huge challenge for designers now, because I don't think design is understood well by business, at least in India till date. I don't think so.
A huge potential is waiting to be
There's a great expectation. The change, as you mentioned, is only one. That is, now industry understands that, okay, this is valuable. There was a time when designers, after graduating from industries in India, had to go and tell, okay, I can do this, please take me. I would be able to do this. They had to do insane amount of convincing. That is not there, no? Design is a part of a corporate or a non-corporate action everywhere. But we have a long way to go. I mean, so it's high time that as designers understand industry, industry should also start understanding designers to a much greater level. And they should also make sacrifices. It goes both ways, right? The reason why India in many fields of design is still not so much there in the global map, or there is no buzz around us. There are many reasons, by the way. There is a reason of marketing failure. There's a design. There's a problem of lack of attention, or maybe there's an issue of doing things always in a particular way. Like if I am a student, I want to go into STEM. Okay, parents also would say that to the student, even if they had this afterthought, okay, why not try something else that would be stubbed? So there are many reasons. I'm not saying this is the only reason, but altogether, we have a long way to go. We are quite far away from that. Balance work both ways. Designers have been doing that for, I think, 50, 60 years in India. We have tremendously genius people on the soil who should have been known across the planet. That has not happened because we didn't do things right.
Yeah, even I feel for example, I'll just give a small example. Even after being a major automotive consumer market and, a country with a huge population, automotive design itself was almost non-existent for a long time. Either it was borrowed from some, patented from some Japanese or British brand, or, it was very simple, basic design. And rather, they focused more on the practicality than the design aspect of it. Even if it did not abide by the design rules. They didn't care as long as it sold and it was cheap. That was the two main.
I think this is also another major problem. I mean, businesses are always, at least in our country, if we look at it, Indian businesses are majorly trying to look at profit. Only when recently startup culture came up and people tried exploring innovative ways. Now the scenario is fast changing, but we both know that startup culture is also not easy. It's not easy to find funding. The same problems we were talking about. People want to still play safe. I think it's high time for Indians to not try to play safe. We are always, in every walk of life, Indian people, we just want to safeguard ourselves. It's not our fault, but the ones who are visionaries and the ones who don't need this kind of safety can risk a bit for innovation to come in. Everywhere you see this.
So, like, since we are talking about design implications, how it's changing in India, which industries do you feel still require a lot of design input? Like, it can be vast, like, it doesn't have to be mainstream sectors also. But, like, from your limited experience on.
I think policy making. Because anything in a country starts at the policy level. We have a budget. Okay, we have a body of law. We have policies for every single, unit, which ultimately runs this country, brings in law and order. So design should exist as a strong body of policy under Indian governance. Only then we will see the ripple effect, because if that happens, then at least certain things are defined. That at the strategic level, design is going to do this things. Implementation will happen in this ways. And then it can come down to other industries. I think industries will be very open to it. This still hasn't happened. I mean, there has been efforts to make this happen. So I think we have come a long way in 2024. We do have, implementation of sorts in governance, but we need to grow it. This needs to be mainstream now. Design really helps. Only because it's not just a problem-solving tool. It's a opportunity mapping tool. It's an observational tool. It's many things in one package. So yeah, if it works at the policy level, I think it will, the ripple effect will happen in the other industries. And they will also start believing in this. It works. It's very infectious. Once you believe in something, then others will start believing in you and it will spread. Same for this.
Since you were talking about, doing certain experiments and courses in your college with AI, in that context, what do you feel AI is, how is it going to change? Like, is it, some people are calling it the death of design, like designers' jobs are going to go away. And some people are open-heartedly welcoming it. What's your opinion on it? How is AI impacting design?
I think it's a tool. It's a very powerful tool. It's a epoch-making tool. We have had other tools, but there has been no tool like this.
I would rather reframe the question. Can AI replace designers in the future?
No, impossible. Because how can you define design?
What?
You can only replace something which you can define. The role of a designer is consistently changing. Today, sometime back, designers would make things by hand. Now, you make things on a software. Now, you have a prompt-based system where you give prompt and software makes it for you. But you are the one who's giving the prompt. And this is time-tested in human society. If any kind of technology becomes standard, then some genius rises above it. And for that person or those group of people, technology starts getting reinvented. It's always the case. Same will happen with AI. AI is a tool. Right now, it's still not very well democratized in the design world. That's why I started doing this along with my university. It will soon be. There will be a time when everybody will start using AI on the generic jobs will be done by it. So repetitive things will go away. And design education was never about repetition. It's all about thinking new ideas. So if humans are here and AI is here today, once human and AI would be at the same level in terms of, say, skill-based work, I'm not talking about cognition, then humans again will ride high, will be on top of AI and think what else to do. The ones who are creative. And the ones who won't be able to do this, they will be using AI, but they will be lazy. If you're lazy, will you use AI a lot? I think.
It's not that we do try to implement AI in our workflow also. But again, we use it as a tool. We don't let it take, thought process decision.
It still is not that advanced, and even if it is, AI's thought process will be different from a human's thought process. Because AI is trained on human data. But human data is trained on what? Right.
On consciousness.
We don't
which
have
we
any
don't-
answer. There is no hack into human consciousness. It's not possible. You can create consciousness. AI is creating consciousness. There will be sentient AI. That would be a different kind of consciousness. It will not be human consciousness. Maybe we would be able to learn much more about secrets from that consciousness. But that consciousness, in essence, can never become human consciousness. Neither can the human consciousness ever become that kind of consciousness. You have a calculator. We can add, we can multiply, we can subtract. There are people who have practiced this and they can do this very fast. But they can never beat a calculator. It's like that. But a calculator's intelligence is not similar to that person's intelligence. Through that calculative mindset, he or she can do many other things which a dumbed down calculator cannot do. Same for AI, I think.
So I guess it was a very lovely conversation. It was quite deep, quite intriguing, and a lot of perceptions also changed. And I think the people watching this will also have something to take away and hopefully implement it in their lives. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
I'm really honored, and we'll possibly have another session soon.
Yeah,
and another red dot. Who knows? So
Never
congratulations.
work for awards. That's my
Yeah.
philosophy in life. Work for excellence and work like a child. Be interested like a child. Have a child's mind, and then things work out. If they don't work out, don't hanker. Move on. Do other things. Good will happen.
Yeah, but it's never bad to see an award in your shelf once in a while.
Not really. Not really.
Anyways, thanks for being with us, and hopefully you guys like it. And if so, then do share a comment on your thoughts. And if we have missed out any questions, so do mention it in the comment section. I think he will personally address the comments if it's intriguing and if it sparks a design discussion. I think he will always be
Why
open
not?
to it. And that's how we all grow. So thank you.
Thank you.